Welcome to Poly Role Models. Thank you for taking the time. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hi, my name is Intimacy Con Amore, and I am stoked to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, let's go right into it. So, how long have you been polyamorous or been practicing polyamory?
My entire life, and my first relationship that was really a relationship was when I was 12 years old, and it lasted for 2 years, and included finding out he had a second girlfriend that he was keeping from me, calling her, laying the landscape out for her, telling her, no, wait, we're not mad about him dating each other. We're mad about him lying, so let's call him and tell him, you don't have to lie about this. And we called him and told him that, and he agreed and apologized, and neither one of us broke up with him. And then both of our relationships just kind of organically grown out of a relationship by the time we started high school. But we're all still friends, and he thanks me often about teaching him to be honest and ethical about all of his relationship choices.
Nice, very nice. So what does your current relationship dynamic look like?
So I have three long-term partners of 20 years, and that's always been a long-distance relationship. 18 years, and he lives locally, but he travels so much that it feels like a long-distance relationship. And then a 10-year relationship, and he lives less than 2 miles away.
Oh, nice. Um, what aspect of polyamory do you excel at?
Probably the communication and, sadly, encouraging, supporting, educating others not to be cheaters and liars.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's how you got your start, right?
Right.
What aspect of polyamory do you struggle with?
Other people's expectations of my free time to be what I feel like is they feel entitled to. And so maybe for the last 5 years, I've really focused on any new pursuits. It's about patience and making sure that they're not an impatient person and that they don't feel entitled to a certain amount of time with me. Because maybe I want to see you every day for 2 weeks. Maybe you don't want to see me every day for 2 weeks. But neither of us should expect each other to have the same amount of time set aside for each other, or even that mutual desire on the same day. Maybe I don't want to see you today, but you wanted to see me. You shouldn't be upset with me. You should just communicate that and accept that today's not that day. Can I see you tomorrow?
Yeah, I've been on both sides of that. Um, and so, how do you address and or overcome these struggles? And I feel like you kind of answered it, but in case you wanted to ask or add more to it.
Well, just, in the last couple of years, I've addressed it by it being something we talk about up front. And that it's also something that recently they have to prove to me. Where before it was difficult because it wasn't something that I had even recognized was important to me. And it took me years of having that reoccurring problem. And I didn't really have the wording because I didn't really have it identified as something that was like important to me. It would just be, why are we having these problems around time? And it never occurred to me until recently, okay, no, this is something that for me is a very important requirement, desire. Like, I can't be entitled. And before I felt like, well, I'm the woman, and in my mind, sticking to traditional heterosexual normal roles, I have to be available for my man at all times to be a good woman,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not there anymore. I know that's not a requirement for me to be a good mate, regardless of my sex or gender. And so I guess I do head it off at the beginning now, so it's not a problem later. Where before it would just be super frustrating to match up. Like, no, you can't insist that I have to be available for you every Friday and Saturday night, especially when I'm not just seeing you. There are other people who want to go out on Friday and Saturday night with me too. So we have to learn how to share these Friday and Saturday nights with others.
Yes, definitely. All right. In terms of risk aware or safer sex, what do you and your partners do to protect one another?
We get tested often. I get tested more often than my partners because I have lupus and arthritis and diabetes, which means my immune system's weaker than the average human. So I get tested about every 6 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks. And used to be a struggle because I would have to like fight my doctor for that, but now it's been the norm for her for some years now. She doesn't really argue with me. She just does it like, hey, did I get a test last month? Oh, it was last month, not this month? Okay, well, I guess it's time, you know.
Yeah.
Because I have regular monthly appointments, and sometimes they can be every other month if I'm like super healthy. And so I'm only fluid bonded with one partner, and he recently got a divorce, and haven't seen him since it was official, so I think we're going to have a conversation where I'm not going to be fluid bonded with anyone, because now that he's quote unquote not married and more free to do what he's going to do because he doesn't live with anyone, I just think it would be safer for all of us not to be fluid bonded and just use condoms, and those who are fertile, something extra more than just condoms.
I understand. Okay. Good answer, by the way. Um, and what is the worst mistake you've ever made in your polyamorous history, and how did you rebound from that?
I think the worst mistake I've ever made is the same mistake I keep making, is I tend to be too trusting. And I want to believe in the absolute best of my partners. Like, I don't want to believe that they're lying to me. I don't want to believe that they're being abused by another partner. Like, I want to believe that they know how to protect themselves, and over and over again, the real problems that end up ending my relationships, and that's usually me saying, no, this is not healthy for you or me, so I'm walking away now, even though we may both share love for each other. Love is not enough by itself if there are things like other partners abusing you, or other partners manipulating your time with other partners, which I don't think is completely fair, but
Yeah.
I just kind of deal with what I deal with. So I think I believe in complete optimism, and I guess maybe I don't really take a clear look at quote unquote the not so great things that could be happening.
Okay, that makes sense. Definitely. Um, what self identities are important to you, and how do you feel like being polyamorous intersects with or affects these identities?
Self identities. So my self identity recently in the last year has been evolving.
Okay.
And the great thing about that was meeting some people at the 2016 Poly Symposium in Dallas. And they were open and honest and very sharing about their gender, non-binary, non-conforming journeys.
Yeah.
And it felt like part of their stories, they were telling my story, but I didn't know that was my story. Like, I didn't have the, I guess, wording to frame around it. I just, prior to last year, I just always told people, oh, I'm just super tomboy. But in the last year, I've really done some real studying, like with my medical professionals, with other people who are not just cis female or cis male, and talking about different feelings and identifying with some of the same feelings they shared with me, like from the time I was little bitty, like 6 years old, you know, I want to play soccer, I don't want to be a cheerleader, like I just never was very quote unquote girly.
Yeah.
But I'm trapped in a girly body. So then that comes with girly expectations from the outside world. And so as far as my gender, for now, I feel like two-spirit's probably the best word to identify. I have no desire to have like surgery, but definitely have never felt as female as my body appears to be. And I think being poly helps me not have to fight the quote unquote female gender roles as much as I felt like I had to fight them in my younger years when I quote unquote attempted to be monogamous but never felt complete in monogamous relationships. I always felt like I was dying inside and dim, like I was having to not be my whole full self when I would agree to be monogamous because I didn't have any other partners at certain points. So one partner would say, well, if you're not dating anyone else, why don't we be monogamous? And I was like, okay. At 40 this year, I'll never be monogamous for any relationship. It's not a possibility because it's not who I am.
Yeah.
And so I think being polyamorous allows me to meet other people who are open-minded about other things, not just about relationship styles.
Yeah.
And that's so awesome. And I feel like when I interact with different polyamorous social circles all over, like France or not just American poly social circles, there's a clear amount of less and less judgment based on gender roles, based on cultural norms, based on my race, because I'm of mixed race. I'm Native American, African American, and Irish Anglo-American. And honestly, I guess the most judgment I receive is usually from Americans.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Last but not least, do you have any groups, projects, websites, blogs, etc. that you're involved with that you'd like to promote?
I have a group and a page under the same name. You can also find me on Twitter, IG, and Snapchat. It's all under Polyamorous Freedom to Love. And for short, my handle is PolyFreeLove. And I just want to continue doing community work, hosting community events to help bring awareness about polyamory and non-monogamous type of relationships that are about ethical honesty and acceptance and, just, I guess, obliterating, quote-unquote, traditional gender roles.
Nice. Thank you so much for taking the time. Yeah, that's. I feel like there should be like a better ending than that. Um,
Well, I appreciate you thanking me, and thank you. Like, I'm so honored to be interviewed and questioned by you. Like, I've been following you for like 2 years now, so
wow, really?
this is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's still weird to hear. I always feel like no one's listening, and then someone's like, "Oh yeah, but I was listening."
Yes.
Yeah. Like we met at Poly Dallas Millennium, and someone told me like a couple hours ago that the reason they went to that same conference was because they read about it in my blog, and I was like, "Really? That's okay. I'll take it."
Yes, definitely. Yeah, there was a couple people who were there that I recently met at a local polyamorous event because we have them here in Dallas. There's probably 3 or 4 every month of the same event. Like we have First Fridays in Dallas. I'm sorry, we have First Fridays in Fort Worth, Third Fridays in Dallas, and then there's always a DFW Black and Poly subgroup, and they usually have 2 events a month, and they're usually on Saturdays. And so a handful of people that were at those events, I go to the events just to spread the word about other events, because if you don't get out there and meet people, sitting behind your computer screen, you can only meet so many people, and it's not the same as meeting people in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I definitely follow you. I found out about you from a share in the main Black and Poly group.
Okay. Yeah, that's I don't share all of my stuff there, but like most of it these days. There was a point where I was only sharing profiles if I was someone who was black and poly. But like somebody called me out on it, so now I share most of my stuff there.
That's good.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I didn't notice that. I wouldn't have called you out on it, but I don't have time to be in that group that often because I run so many other groups.
Yeah, same.
But definitely, yeah, don't limit the exposure of what you have to share
I am
based on.
I am a shameful self promoter. I am by no means shameless. Yeah. But again,
Well,
thank you for taking the time. Poly role models appreciate your contribution, and I'll give you a heads up before I post and all that.
awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you at other conferences, and maybe we can get together on some other non-monogamous projects sometime.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. I'm
Okay, awesome.
I'm trying to exit the full screen mode so that I can actually.
Usually, if you hit the escape button, that usually kills the full screen.
Yeah, one would think, and I would think because I am also one. But oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to